Okay, so I am Dr. Lee, everybody, and it's really nice to see you. And I have a um, set of slides to walk you through the program and some background information about applications and things like that. So hold on one second while I share my screen. 1 second. Okay. Okay, so as I mentioned, I'm Dr. Lee, and I am the graduate director of the LMU English MA program. And this is welcome to the open house. This is a little bit of information about the program and about myself, and then some frequently asked questions, and then I'll leave some time at the end for any questions you might have. Okay, so a little bit about me. I was born in Los Angeles. I grew up actually not very far from Loyola Marymount in West Los Angeles. My preferred pronouns are she, her, hers. My parents are immigrants from Korea, moved to Los Angeles in the early 70s. I was born here, raised here, and have been living here again since roughly 2015, came back around 2015 and have been here since then. I studied Victorian and African American literature in graduate school and still teach in those fields. I also teach Asian American literature and teach both undergraduate and graduate students. And I've been graduate director for now, I think this is my third year as graduate director. Okay, so that's a little bit about me. I always like to start these presentations with our vision statement. So this is something that the department came together to create a few years ago. This was around 2020. And it really, I think, gives students a sense of what we are committed to, what we believe in, what are our core values. So this is the opening line from our vision statement. You can see the entire statement on our website. But we are a community of creative writers, journalists, and literary scholars who are committed to the fundamental dignity, equality, and welfare of all human beings. And I think this animates what we teach, how we teach, how we hope to connect with each other, with students, with colleagues. And I think it's what makes our program unique among other master's programs. I think the fact that we are a Jesuit university and that our mission is so fundamental to how we approach the world and text and each other. I think that is what makes us different from, say, a program at a different university. And just FYI, a lot of these images are just from artists' artworks that I enjoy and that I think help illustrate some of our core values in our department. Okay, so why LMU? I like to have people see some pictures of our students and our faculty to get a sense of what our department is like. This is a photograph from a couple of years ago. This was a smaller group of our grad students who had won special awards with their theses. And then it includes a couple of 3 professors as well. So the question is why LMU English? And I would say that, it's an intimate program. It's got very small class sizes. In any given year, your classes would max out maybe at 12 students, 13 students, but oftentimes they're classes that have 5 or 6 students. You absolutely will get to know all your professors. You will become good friends with your classmates. You really cannot get lost here. We also have a cohort of very dedicated professors who have been here for a long time and are really committed to staying with you throughout your career. So not just teaching you in your classes while you're in the master's program, but continuing to mentor after you leave the program, writing recommendations, serving as advisors or sounding boards as you continue in your postgraduate life. We also have considerable conference and travel funding. This is something that my students right now are taking advantage of. I encourage them to apply to conferences And in fact, had a class recently in one of my grad seminars where everybody did apply to a conference, submitted a proposal, and all the students who were accepted, many of their papers had been accepted, will be going to a conference together in February of this year in Albuquerque. And they are all eligible for funding through the department in terms of defraying travel costs. So this amount ranges between $500 to $1,000. And sometimes we can even compensate you for a larger amount depending on how much leftover funding we have. Sorry, I'm just looking at the chat. Yes, so you can always request more funding if you say need, even if it's over $1,000, you can still request for more funding. And if we have it, we will give it to you. Another perk of the program, one of the things that distinguishes us from others, is that we have these TF and GA opportunities, so teaching fellowships and also graduate assistantships. And these are two great ways to help defray the cost of your graduate education. The teaching fellowships are particularly, they're competitive, but they're particularly valuable opportunities to learn how to teach with the mentorship of professors. And you also get the chance to teach your own classes eventually. And then you're compensated, and the amount is generally used to defray the cost of your tuition. So it's a substantial amount. The graduate assistantships are less, but again, these are limited hours, and you can work in addition to your studies. They're graduate assistantships in places like the journalism department, or trying to think, sometimes in the dean's office, or the library has a really great GA opportunity where you can actually help work with the special collections and archives and put together an exhibit. So this allows you to also pursue your scholarship at the same time as you're getting paid to help with some minor administrative work. And lots of these opportunities come up through the school year. And then finally, the mission and community, which I mentioned earlier with our vision statement, that we do try very hard to have a sense of just that, we know who you are, we care, and you will not be anonymous on this campus, and that we are committed to seeing the whole student. We don't just see you as a number. We're, again, as a Jesuit institution, we are about the education of the whole person. Okay, so a little bit about our admissions requirements. So in terms of prerequisites, some people have asked about this. We do recommend you need a minimum of 5 upper division undergraduate courses in English with a minimum 3.0 GPA. So if you don't have 5, then you might augment by taking, extension classes or taking classes, adding them, doing it over the summer or whatever. And then additionally, we do look for prior experience, especially if you're coming right out of undergrad. We want to see that you have actually shown that you've taken classes in your desired track. So if you're a literature person, we want to see that you've taken literature classes. If you're a creative writer, if you've never taken a creative writing class before in your life and you're applying for the creative writing track, we're going to want to know, well, why do you want to pursue graduate work? We want to see that you've already taken some of those classes and have facility with the workshop model or whatever. And so where you're getting into. So we very much encourage that. Similarly with rhetoric and composition, that this is why you're doing this track. In terms of the application, you are asked to submit a writing sample, and we request between 10 to 15 pages. For creative writing emphasis, those who are applying to that track, we also request an additional writing sample not exceeding 30 pages. And this is a creative writing sample. Sorry, I have a cat. So the writing sample should be a critical writing sample, the 10 to 15 page writing sample. But then if you're applying for a creative writing track, MA, then you also need to include a creative writing sample, but please no more than 30 pages because we can't read more than that. 2 letters of recommendation, which is pretty standard, a personal statement where you tell us why this program, why you think it fits your goals and your needs, and then finally, official transcripts. And those, sometimes people submit unofficial transcripts and then submit the official ones at a later date. But we do, once we do ultimately need the official versions in order to officially accept you into the program. Okay, so a little bit about our different tracks. The literature emphasis ends up being, I would say, most years, I feel like most students, I would say, maybe 50-50, 60% maybe of students end up on the literature track. And the required courses for this track, all the tracks require 10 courses in order to earn the MA. And so the literature track, you can see the breakdown of the coursework. So critical methodology is a required course for all first semester graduate students, regardless of your track. Take that the fall semester. So that's one of the courses. And then the second requirement is contemporary critical theory. That's also one of the required classes, usually taken spring semester of your first year. And then in addition to that, you will be required to take a major writer/genre/literary period class, and then assortment of literature and theory electives. And then you also have the option of taking creative writing seminars. Some literature emphasis students enjoy the chance to, challenge themselves or to try out a different form of writing. The rhetoric and composition emphasis, this has been an interesting, a lot of students switch to this track once they're at LMU because they take a rhetoric class and really fall in love with it. And a question people sometimes have is, what if I apply as a literature track person, but I change my mind once I get there? That is totally fine. If you change your mind, we advise, you should change your mind early on so you make sure you get all the requirements done and it doesn't take you too long to get through the program, but you are not wedded to your track once you arrive. So rhetoric, similarly, critical methodologies and contemporary critical theory are required courses, and then a different combination of other courses. So yes, you have to take a major writers class, but fewer literature and theory electives, so 3 of those. And then we ask you to take rhetoric and composition theory and practice, so 3 courses there, and then 1 course in linguistics and reading theory. The final track is creative writing, and this usually about, I would say half of students roughly come in under the creative writing emphasis, critical methodology and contemporary critical theory, major writer, and then they take more creative writing seminars, so 4 creative writing seminars. And then what's unique about our program is that if you're on the creative writing track, you still do a considerable amount of critical writing as well. So you're expected to take 3 literature and theory electives as well. And this is what distinguishes us from, say, a Master's of Fine Arts, like an MFA, where there is no critical writing component. At LMU, the MA in creative writing emphasizes that we want you to be well-rounded, we want you to be able to do creative writing, but also have a foundation in literature and theory. All right, I just like adding this picture because it makes me happy. These are some of our 2 of our recent graduates, again, from 2 years ago. Left is Eric, who graduated, and he actually works at Loyola Marymount, and here he is with some of his colleagues, and then he also won one of the major thesis prizes at the end of the year for the best creative writing thesis. So we were really proud of him. And then on the other side of the page is Leah, also graduated in 23, and she is now teaching high school English. And this is with myself and then with one of her other advisors, Professor Ryan. And she won one of the critical writing capstone prizes at the end of her 2 years at LMU. Okay, so this page is just some additional information about where you can find out more about the program. We have a Facebook page and an Instagram account, which you can check out. The graduate program Instagram is not updated as much as the undergrad, but it's a nice way to just get a sense of the folks in the program and the events that are happening. We have our link here for the grad program in English, which has more information, and then also just the general LMU graduate admissions website. And then I have a reminder that there is student resource sessions. If you're interested in learning more about financial aid and about career and professional development, 6 o'clock to 6:30 for the financial aid presentation, and then 6:30 to 7 for the career and professional development session. And then this is my final slide, which is helpful contacts. Maria Jackson, who you will get to know well if you join our program, she's our senior admin coordinator, has been around forever, can answer any question you have, and her email address is listed there. Feel free to reach out to her. Trinity Catlin is my graduate assistant. She is a second year in the program, and she also was an LMU undergrad. So she also has a lot of institutional knowledge. And then her email address is listed there. She's also a great resource and really responsive, and works directly with me. Amy Ross Kilroy is the teaching fellow coordinator. She is in charge of mentoring and overseeing the teaching fellows. She also teaches the theory of teaching, which is a required course for those who get a teaching fellowship. And so if you have more questions there, her email is listed. KJ Peters is the chair of our department, and he is a rhetoric specialist. And then myself, and I have my information up there. I'm the graduate director. And so, yeah, feel free to contact me or anybody else listed on the slide.